Hello everyone! Today I'm going to read a story that's actually new to me as well. And this story is called How the Sea Began. And this is a Taino myth retold and illustrated by George Crespo. So this is a myth from a group of indigenous people who lived in South America. Now, there are some words in this book that I might not be super familiar with, so I'm just going to try my best to sound them out the way they're supposed to be said. How the Sea Began. In the beginning of time, before the land was surrounded by sea, in a place called Zoania, there were 4 great mountains. One mountain was called Boriken, land of brave men. And on that mountain, in the village of Coabe, lived an old man named Yaya, with his wife, Itiba, and their only son, Yael. Yael was a skilled hunter. Yael hunted with a bow that his father had carved for him out of tabanuco wood. It is said that the tabanuco tree is the home of spirits and that its wood holds magical powers. This saying may be true because when Yael went out hunting, he always brought back game. The people of Coabe ate well even when the other hunters came back empty-handed. Wow, he must be really good at hunting. One day, while Yael was out hunting, he saw that the sky was darkening in the east. A flock of swallows flying before the lowering clouds circled around his head, flapping and beating their wings. Yael knew this was a warning that Guabenchex, the terrible goddess of hurricanes, was coming. He quickly hid his bow and arrows under a large rock and ran toward the village, hoping to reach safety before the winds overtook him. I wonder why he hid his bow. Maybe we'll find out. Guabenchex created a hurricane that struck with tremendous force. The winds howled and raged for hours. The villagers who had been working in their fields sought shelter in a cave nearby. Yaya and Itiba prayed to the supreme god Yukahu that Yael would come through the storm unharmed. When the winds died down, the people thanked Yukahu, then ventured from the cave. They found that their huts had been flattened by the storm. Yaya and Itiba waited, but Yael did not appear. No, I wonder where he was. Well, there's them in the cave. It says, Yael! Yaya went to search for his son. He found the bow and arrows where Yael had hid them, but of Yael himself there was no sign. When Itiba saw her husband returning with their son's bows and arrows in his hands, she called out Yael's name. Then she fell down weeping at her husband's feet. Yaya reverently placed Yael's bow and arrows in a large gourd. Then he sat down beside his wife and wept too. Oh, how are they feeling? It seems like they're feeling pretty sad. The villagers helped one another rebuild their homes. When the time for grieving was over, they helped Yaya and Itiba hang the gourd from the ceiling of their hut, where the bow and arrows would be safe, just in case Yael's spirit should wish to visit them. Yaya picked up his own bow and arrows and went to hunt. For now, the village could no longer depend on Yael to bring home meat. Though the men in the village hunted every day, they seldom brought home enough for everyone. All were hungry, even the children who were always fed first were becoming thin and sickly. One evening, Yaya asked Atiba to lower the gourd that held Yael's weapons. I want to see our son's bow, he said. Perhaps it still holds the power of the tabonuco, that special tree that it was made from. As Atiba lowered the gourd to the floor, it tipped just a little. Out spilled many beautiful plump fish. Yaya and Atiba were astonished. They had never before seen such fish, large and silvery and still breathing, as if freshly taken from the water. Atiba cooked them and invited the whole village to share the meal. The villagers rejoiced in their good fortune. They sang, Bahari Yael, we honor you, Yael, and went to bed with full stomachs. Those are the fish. The following day, the villagers went out to work in the fields. They left 4 boys to guard the gourd that held Yael's bows and arrows, the bows and arrows that turned into fish. The boys were curious and hungry. The higher the sun climbed into the sky, the more curious and hungry they became. One boy stood up on tiptoe and tried to peer into the gourd. Then a second boy tried to climb up and see inside. They were joined by the other 2, and together they brought the gourd down to the floor. Out flopped 4 fish, just the right size for 4 hungry boys. That's them trying to tip the gourd over. The boys cooked the fish and ate them. Then they ate 4 more. They sang praises to Yael's spirit and lowered the gourd again for more fish. Suddenly, the boys heard Yaya and the villagers returning from the fields. Afraid of being caught, they hurried to raise the gourd to the ceiling. Here's a picture of the fish. In their haste, they failed to secure the rope that held the gourd in its place. The gourd fell to the ground and broke open. Uh-oh. Look, the gourd is broken. Water rushed out of the broken gourd. In an instant, everything in the hut was afloat. The waves swept the boys out of the hut and out of the village and left them choking and sputtering on the path that led to the fields where Yaya and the other villagers found them. The water tasted of salt, the boys said, like the salt of tears. Oh, do you know what ocean water tastes like? Ocean water tastes salty. Water continued to flow from the gourd. It flowed and rose to cover the land, and fish swam out of the gourd, large fish and small fish, starfish, urchins, and jellyfish. All kinds of sea creatures came out of the gourd to fill the water with life. I like that picture. The villagers gathered on the mountaintop and watched as the waters covered Zuania. When at last the waters stopped rising, they saw that their mountain, Borken, was now an island They gave their thanks to Yukahu, dressed themselves festively, and celebrated with music and dancing, because as long as there are fish in the sea, they would not go hungry. And this is one story of how the sea began. So there's the sea with all the animals in it that came from the gourd. And there's all the people. They're celebrating because they have lots to eat in the ocean now. The end. I thought that was a really interesting story. Thanks for listening with me.